All right, man. We back at it. It's episode number 4. And I'm here with Denzel Hines, man. Yes, welcome, man. I'm
Thank you.
glad you're here, man. We got a lot to talk about, man. I did I don't want to call it research, but I got a time to look up a few things. And the first thing I want to lay out, bro, we got something similar in common. So check this
Also,
out. You went to HPU?
I did. Yes, sir.
What year you was there?
24, 23, 24.
Wait,
You
so
was
I'm
there when
from
I got the conference chip?
Jabari.
Yeah.
You didn't recruit him
Yeah.
to HP? You didn't recruit him to HP?
Nah, that's what I'm saying. Like, well, I don't deal with athletes. It's just undergrad. So, bro, do you know that's where I work?
Really?
Yeah, bro.
That's how I thought this came together. I thought this was that you recruited in relationship, and here
Uh,
that's wild.
that's what I'm saying.
Really?
So look, so yeah, check this out, bro. I'm the regional admissions counselor at HPU. Bro, I've been there since 2021. And so like
Really?
yeah, my territory is SoCal. I got Arizona, Alaska, and Hawaii. Bro, so I
That's
probably
fire.
seen you a few times and didn't notice. Matter of fact, that's what I was gonna get into. You had braids, right? Or twists?
I had dreads. Yeah. I had dreads back then.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. So, bro, we probably
Really?
ran into each other so many times.
Yeah.
I work
That's crazy.
regional, but I've been on campus again. Like I'm on campus every other month. I'll be back there
Wow.
in August.
See, that
Okay.
right
You
there
went
was
to some games?
Hell yeah,
Oh, yeah. When
y'all
you for
was
sure. Yeah. That's crazy.
we was nice. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
Nah,
Like,
that
yeah,
season was crazy. It was a fun season.
that right there was cool. There ain't too many black folks, so he's seen you before, and you look familiar.
Yeah.
yeah. That's what. Is that what that mean? Like, man, you look like you know what I mean.
That's crazy though. That's small world for sure.
Very small world, man. I want to stay on that real quick before I go down your history. So, like, first of all, you were there last season, so that was a great season. First season that they ever made it to the tournament,
Or
right?
no,
Which
I
was
actually I was at Coastal Carolina last season.
okay. So you there
Yeah.
before that?
Yeah. The year
Okay,
before that.
awesome. All right. I just got one question. Well,
So
two. One is how do you leave that place? Because that school is remarkable, bro. Like
yeah.
I get transferring is transferring, but once you step foot on that campus, man, it's hard to leave, man. That place is
Yeah,
special, man.
I agree. I agree, and I think going there, like one of the, it affected me so much subconsciously in a good way. Like, being surrounded by that wealth and seeing that there's opportunities, there's abundance of money and networking out there. Like
Yep.
that experience changed my subconscious mind for the rest of my life. Now I push for no less, but to live that comfortable again. Honestly,
Absolutely. It's definitely that school is definitely a paradigm shift. And then the second question I want to ask about that is because it's big off life skills, it's big off of having a growth mindset. Is there
hmm
any of those principles that you learned from being on that campus that you're applying to what you got going on today?
100%. So when I was at High Point, I was an entrepreneur major, and that was honestly my favorite class I probably ever took in ever since I've been in school. Honestly, like just the life skills we were learning, like learning how to get up in front of people and pitch, and just learn small things about copyright. Like it was the first time I actually felt like real enthusiasm to learn something in school. Honestly. So that and just on like I'm saying, being surrounded by people of, wealth, it was not what I was used to growing up and learn that there's different kinds of people out there and learn how to adjust to, multiple kinds of people. That's one of the biggest life skills and principles I took right there.
That's dope. That's dope. I'm glad you mentioned that. And Bill, this is where I want you to fill in because right before you got in, he asked about, us when we worked in the financial industry. And I think that was one of the pivotal moments that Bill and I experienced from working in that industry, something similar to what you experienced at HPU, just being around that certain demographics or environment. Bill, what you think about that?
It's definitely transition, right? Because the entire way that folks with money operate, from rhetoric to fashion to things they're interested in, is complete night and day from what we grew up in. Like I give you a simple example, right? Most of us in our communities hop in a car and you listen to the newest music of your choice or a playlist, and folks with goals, typically folks with some money behind them, are listening to podcasts,
Yeah.
audiobooks, current news, NPR, etc. So it's just like everything is just very, very different. And you kind of adjust, you kind of like learn your footing and how you can kind of survive in both dynamics. Like I don't know if we was going
Yeah.
down this rabbit hole, but like I kind of pride myself on being able to still go and be around my kind, but also step in a room full of execs and be able to hold my own in a dialect and have conversations in a way. So, you know, it's a good learning experience, but it takes time. It's not an overnight thing at all.
You know what's crazy about that? You know, we all thought, especially us coming from our environment, that we would get exposed to that in college. And maybe we did, and maybe I had my blinders on and I wasn't receptive to what I was exposed to. But I didn't, like I said, see it so front and center until I got into that industry around those people. What about you?
Mir Denzel.
I'm sorry, Denzel, my bad, bro.
But yeah, I'll say for me, it was 1,000% high point, man. It had to be,
Yeah.
I was 18 years old experiencing this, being to fly in a private jet that many times at 18 years old, from going to the Brazilian steakhouses on campus where you have to dress a certain way, you have to use certain forks. There's no phones allowed. It's an etiquette. These are real life skills, and I'm very grateful to, learn that early on. So now I can just build upon that and take it, as I grow, as I build my business, as I network, as I travel, being able to fit and communicate in so many different rooms and rooms of power, honestly, which are ones that I plan to be in.
Absolutely. So tell everybody, man, share with the world, man, who is Denzel Hines?
Who is Denzel Hines? I would say he's a very intellectual, open-minded person. I like to call it radical open-mindedness. I'm very open to many perspectives. I've always been more observant since I was a kid, and I kind of build upon that, as I gotten into, business and basketball. Even though I play basketball, I have so many interests outside of that. So that's why I like call myself a renaissance from there. I just love living life, man. I don't really see myself sticking to one thing, and I'm grateful for that.
That's interesting. You might be the first athlete that I heard use that term renaissance. And now, have you always been like that, or is this something you're starting to discover now as you start to get more older and more mature?
I feel like I've honestly always been like this, and I study myself a lot. I do a lot of shadow work. I read a lot, so I'm able to reflect and build off of what the habits I already have and implement them to what I want to do. So I would kind of bring my personality into business. Okay, I'm very good at being open-minded, and discipline is also one of, like, the talents I was gifted with. So how can I translate this what I was naturally born with into what I want to do? And that's the process I'm currently doing right now, and figuring it all out.
Awesome. So you're currently still playing collegiate ball. How many more years of eligibility you have left?
2 years.
2 years. All right, bro. So look, me and Bill, we some old heads, right? We played in the early 2000s. So this is a whole new world for us, even though we're slightly still involved in some capacity. What I would like for you to do is kind of paint the picture of today's modern collegiate athlete, bro. Like what's going on in their mind? What is their view on the world? What's their views on sports? Kind of walk us down that so I can kind of
Yeah.
get a deeper grasp of you guys. Yes.
So honest opinion, the hard truth is every athlete is honestly thinking about money right now. It's all you see on social media. It's the influence. I feel like it's kind of a why that athletes have changed. Like, I feel like people used to play the game out of the love of the sport, but kids are being trained now. Now we got to take this serious. You could change your life through NIL and college basketball, which there's a lot of pros and cons to it, but I would say that's exactly what's going through the current mind of an athlete. And it can build a lot more pressure, which is a small thing that a lot of people wouldn't realize or honestly care about, but it's a factor 100%. Like, it's a business now, honestly.
And how young are they starting to approach the game that way?
I would say it's like 8 years old, honestly. Like, their parents know what it is. Parents know what it is. Like, they're not playing around with this no more. Like, honestly, like, I would say so.
Damn. Bill, how do we deal with this, bro? How do we approach this? We got kids of literally the age that you just said.
Funny, I was just in a barbershop yesterday with my two boys getting them cut, barbershop talk, and I was telling the barber who has his son in football and just sharing my opinion. I have to preface it that way to him. Like, this is just my approach to it. Do what you want with this information. But it's definitely starting early, man. These parents feel like if they get their kids this specialized training at 8, and they can consistently do that until they turn 18, that they'll have a higher likelihood of going D1 or FBS, FCS, getting an NIL deal, and hopefully using that as a catapult to transition their life, right? But my rhetoric to them is always focus on fun. At the younger
Yeah.
age, focus on your kid having fun, because you can give them all that training you want to, but all three of us know when you actually go to college on a sport, your parents can't push you. Whoever it was pushing you and forcing you to do those things is no longer there. It has to be an intrinsic motivation that keeps you going, right? Like the Energizer Bunny. And then at the same time, it's still 3% that goes to FCS. So again, you can do all of this training that you want to, but there's still this balancing of such that happens where only 3% of folks get to that level. Another 2% go to FCS. I think it's 8% of all divisions collectively. And so, again, man, it's still a crapshoot at the end of the day. And folks catch up late. Some folks have it early. And there's just many variables to consider until you get to that point. So until then, you might as well just focus on the one thing you can control, which is, are you having fun? If you're not having fun, the parent, in my opinion, needs to look at the program or where their kid is at and find where fun is and go towards that and let everything else take care of itself. And your kid will let you know if they're interested in that sport with them wanting to pursue it in their own personal interests outside of you having to say it's time to go do this or it's time to do this workout, etc.
And Bill, when would you say that sports started being less fun, more business for us?
College, 100%.
College.
100% college.
Gotcha.
High school, it was still fun. Because at high school, bro, like, you walk into your locker room, everybody was the man in high school. In your high school, it's not that hard to be the man on your team, depending on where you grow up, the city, the concentration of talent, but it's easy earned. You go to a college locker room, also depending on where you at, every person in that locker room was the man. And so it stopped being fun by the time you got to college. And you figure out, you calibrate to the way that program is ran, and then you start to eventually have fun, if and only if you win it. Because again, when we was winning at K-State, it wasn't fun. Even though we was not having
Right.
fun losing games because the coaches
Yeah.
is tight, you in meetings getting chewed out, the
Yeah.
laser point is on you in film study, you break up into smaller rooms, it's just a continuation of such. And so the fun don't start until everybody buy into, the culture, the paradigm, you start winning games, and now you having fun, but not a second before then.
Right. Right. And is that something you're experiencing right now, Denzel, or was it serious in high school?
I agree. It's serious, 1,000%. And one thing about me, I've been on both sides. When I was at High Point, we had the best season in school history that year. At Coastal, we had one of the longest losing streaks in the country at a point. So I like to take the humility, the humbleness from both sides and really instill this within my next season, be more of a leader, having this experience. But I can say winning is a lot more fun than losing in all aspects, man. Like, so much better.
You're absolutely right. And so I want to talk about your transition because you went from one school to the next, and so that's two colleges that you went to, or are you at a third right now?
I'm at a third now. I just recently
Okay.
committed to UC Riverside.
Congratulations, bro. That's dope. That's dope. So this is considered normal in you guys' era, which is in our era that shit would have been like ass backwards to us. Like, bro, you
Yeah.
commit to one unless all shit hits the fan, then you gotta go. So we had a thing, two things. It was one was like school loyalty. Like, hey, I'm gonna pick this school. This is the school that I'm gonna ride out till the wheels fall off, and this is the jersey that I'm gonna wear on my back for the rest of my life. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? But now you guys do approach it as a business and almost like journeyman. Like, hey, are you guys making these decisions on the highest bidder or just the best position for you guys? Like, how are you guys making these decisions to go to multiple schools throughout you guys' collegiate careers?
I think everybody's perspective is different. Everybody has different desires. Everybody has different experiences. For me personally, it's outcome, like, or just best fit overall. Because me, I can be in, the best place ever, but if I'm not surrounded by the right people, it won't work out for me, honestly. So that's a factor for me. Environment, just overall fit. How do I fit into the playing style? What type of coaches am I gonna be coached by? What type of teammates am I gonna have? What is the school environment like? Like, or is the fan base like? I take it all that in. So,
That's dope. I like the fact that you guys are mature enough to make those type of decisions, to think that critical about your future. Not saying that during our era we weren't, but let's keep it a buck. I don't know about you, Bill, but I'm like, yo, is this a Nike school? That was number one. I would keep it a buck.
Bro, I was just telling my uncle that when we was having a conversation, we was talking about schools that was recruiting us because he played for University of Oregon in the '80s, and I was sharing just how I wasn't signing my letter of intent if it wasn't sponsored by Nike. Like it was a hard rule for me and my personal affirmations. But yeah, man, it's different. It's different now.
Yeah, that also like, is this a football school? Similar like how like, hey, does a crowd or the community rally around the sports that I'm playing? Like all of those things was the factor. I don't necessarily of course, system, do you fit in the system? But we weren't making decisions on like what type of coach it is, how does he approach it? It's like the coach is the coach. He's winning, we gonna figure it out. You know what I mean? But I like how you guys are starting to think like environment. You know what I mean? What's the best environment that I can thrive, and maximize my potential. And I love the fact that you guys now have that freedom because
Hmm.
it does level the playing field. I do believe that some athletes abuse that freedom and that right, but I do like that is there. Like, hey, if you're not going
Yeah.
to treat, because that doesn't happen in the workforce, right? You know what I mean? Your boss has to treat you fairly or you can get
Yeah.
missing. But I felt like in college, back in the day, you were restricted. Like, man, I'm signed to this, to this school and I gotta, just suck it up. You know what I mean?
And like I said, I think it's everybody's, specific choice. Like some people will chase the dollar, but the dollar won't always put you in the best place, Like it's really
Okay.
up to you, 100%. Like I've seen people make a decision for money and it went not how they expected it at all. There's a lot more. I think athletes need to start paying attention to everything else outside of it because everybody's chasing the dollar now.
Man, you gave me the perfect segue. That's what I want to transition to next. Man, let's talk about money. So you're an NIL athlete, is that safe to say?
For
Bro, walk me through this, bro. Man, y'all here getting checks as amateurs, man. Take me to that experience, man. I love it.
Yeah, so for me specifically, there's two different kinds of NIL journeys for me. There's one where it's specifically through the school. You can sign an NIL agent where he discusses how much money you're making from directly getting paid from your school. And there's also independent NIL, which you can make through brand deals, partnerships, and stuff like that. So about 3, 4 months ago, I really started getting into content creation because I was seeing athletes, getting these deals, getting paid, walk on athletes, guys who aren't even, playing a lot, get deals and stuff. And I'm like, I know I'm capable of this. So I don't want to see this opportunity to miss it. So I started making content about 3, 4 months ago. Just start shooting my daily lives. And one thing about me, I'm a businessman. So I take my business skills and I put it in with mix with basketball. I have a platform in basketball. I'm a D1 athlete. I have business skills. I put it together and I take full advantage. And I reach out to probably 20 or 30 brands every single day. I'm locally, small, electrolyte creatine brands, and it's working out for me. And I see it that is a pivot point in my future, 1,000%. Like for example, last month, I've only been doing content for 3 months. So I landed 20 NIL deals in a month. I can see
Wait,
myself
what? Whoa, whoa, whoa,
consistently.
whoa, whoa. Hold on, brother. Hold on, brother. 8 NIL deals in a month?
This,
Oh, you got a hell of a hustle, bro. And you managing this on your own and
yeah,
being a student athlete?
yes, sir. I reach out to brands. I communicate with brands every single day. I don't skip a
That's
day.
impressive. I got a sidebar question on the same point though. What's your conversion of that 20? Like how many reach outs conversations did it take you to land that?
I would say probably 20 to 30%. If I reach out to 100 brands, I'll probably get like, 18, 20 hit me back. Hey, each one is worth it to me. So,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
if they think about me, if they don't answer, I'm gonna wait a couple weeks and I'm gonna follow up with them. I won't leave them alone.
Bro, he'll kill in sales, won't he?
I mean that's it, right? That's quintessential it, right? Like numbers, conversion rates, if they don't respond, have a follow-up, maybe multiple. You know how it goes, but that's good, man. Keep it up.
And not to get too much into your secret sauce, but man, how are you pitching to them? How are you approaching them? What is, some of the maybe the language or your approach?
I do cold outreach. Can't give out the whole thing,
Right,
but
right.
I'll tell people just reach out Instagram. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, yeah. And so, and now I'm trying to put my mindset in a mindset of a business that would be willing to sponsor you. Usually what is their why? Why would they choose an athlete such as yourself to represent their brand? Like how is these relationships forming and building? And are these relationships something short-term one-offs or are they long-term relationships?
So my answer to that is what value can you bring outside your sport? Not everybody's going to be a high major athlete landing $1 million deals. There's going to be low mid major guys. How are you going to separate yourself? How are you going to compete with these guys? Okay, obviously the sport isn't enough, so you have to bring yourself, your identity. I pursue my identity. I know I'm big on the intellectual side. I promote my business, what I'm doing outside. I show them that I work with these amount of brands and locally is the best as well too. That's one of the best ways to start. Locally brands seeing you build upon there. you build a portfolio. So value outside of your sport. Who are you? And it's not that hard because you have a personality outside your sport. So
Bro, man, you don't understand how this is music to my ears. Bro, what I would do to be 21, right? Bill, you hear me, Bill? Brother, listen, I just want to say this, and you probably already know this, and you seem like a humble guy, so you're going to take it the right way. You don't realize the skill that you have developed right now so young and what it's going to do for you in the future. Like, sky's the limit for you. Like, the hardest thing that athletes have to do, one of the hardest part of transitioning for an athlete that I've learned over the years is that one thing, stepping outside your comfort zone and reaching out, telling the world who you are outside
yeah,
of you being an athlete. And that was another reason why a lot of athletes they transition to sales because they can hustle, but they can't get over the fear of exposing themselves to hear the rejection because that's just not how it is. But by you already doing this while playing, and I tell athletes all the time, man, and when you call someone and you're constantly and you're playing, meaning like you already have a jersey with your name on the back, they're gonna answer the phone.
yeah,
Good luck trying to do that shit 3, 4, 5 years removed. And when they're like
yeah,
Denzel,
exactly.
who I think I remembered that name, but when you're
Yeah.
doing it when you're fresh, you just got more momentum. So I'm glad that you kind of saw that early. You know what I mean?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I think you was about to say something, Bill. My bad. Did I cut you off?
No, man, you got it. You got it. I don't wanna go too far on a rant philosophically, but what it's worth, Denzel, man, I do think that, you got the right mentality of what and the right approach of what you're doing. And so, from afar, man, be watching and see how you continue to climb from here on out. Because I do think you got the right recipe for success. It's just a matter. I think the biggest thing athletes from transition is finding something you equally as passionate about as
Yeah.
your sport. That's always the hard thing because it's easy to get up and go work out. You care about ball,
Yeah.
whether it's football, basketball, or anything else. Now replicate that to something that's away from sports, whether it's, you running your own business. But most of us didn't pay attention in class long enough to try to run our own show. And so we go work for somebody else. We making somebody else rich and you hate your job. And not to get again too philosophical on that, but now you just drifting through life. Shout out to the book, Outwitting the Devil, but you just creating this cycle of I'm doing this because I have responsibilities and have bills, but there's no passion, there's no battle you trying to fight. You just caught in this cycle that we call life. So for what it's worth.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of that, and maybe you don't know what's next for you, but like I said, you already have the tools. But to stay on this hustle, because you are receiving some form of revenue, man, how are you looking at money, man? How are you managing that? What's your disciplines right now?
Can you abbreviate on that a little more?
Yeah, sure. So you're, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
20.
20. All right. You don't have to get into how much you're making, but you're making something, right? Most
That's right.
most of these athletes that I'm bumping into, they're making more than the average person with a decent job. Let's keep it a buck, right? So when I was young, and I wrote this in my book, like I come from when we had the throwbacks and the Air Force Ones, bro. Like I had to get
Mhm.
like every pair when it dropped, bro. It was nasty. And it was funny. I don't have regrets, but at the same time, I was like, bro, what were you thinking? Like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
This money can go somewhere else. So, like, how are you viewing money? Are you, right now in this era where you're making it so much at a young age?
For me, I'm gonna say living below my means and assets. That's what I'm looking towards. I want some land before I want the chain. That's just me personally.
That's a bar. What
Sir.
other assets outside of real estate? Any other asset classes you interested in?
Still learning a lot about it, but shout out Rich Dad Poor Dad, shout out Richest Man in Babylon. I'm learning day by day. I day trade as well, so I've been getting into that. So, sure,
Okay, okay, that's
Oh
good.
man, this dude different, bro.
No, he is. You day trading, you watching charts.
You watching charts, man. Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah. You already focusing on, your offense and your defense approach of it. Protect yourself, protect your assets, make sure you're insured up, all of those things before you start playing offense. You know what I mean? That's
yeah,
that's that's great. What are you majoring in right now? You said, because I know you had entrepreneur then, but I know not all schools offer that. So what are you gonna
yeah.
major in now?
Right now, I'm sociology. I kind of
Okay.
take that in the aspect of business more. My perspective is, business is always dealing with somebody, and I really just rather study people, how to communicate with people. I think that would take me a lot farther
Mhm.
than a lot of preferred majors. And to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest fan of school, but I do it.
It's definitely a means to an end, right? So You're a California native, man. Tell us, man, how was your journey just growing up in SoCal, being an athlete? How were you able to navigate, you know, just growing up?
I feel like I love SoCal's a good area for hoops, man. And where I originally grew up, it was predominantly Hispanic. So I had to move out and go to Ontario to hoop. Went to Colony High School, somewhere where it's a little more basketball oriented. That's what I thought was a big culture shock, big culture change at first until I went to the South. Yeah, I feel Cali really taught me that hustle. When I came back, I realized Cali is full of hustlers. This mindset is a fast paced mindset, but there's a lot of pros to it. I really seen the pros and cons. The South, a lot of people aren't moving as fast. They're very, comfortable, slow pace, and that's how I naturally am. I'm more, like calm, chill. But Cali, coming out here, learning these skills, networking, like you need the balance of both. So I love it.
No, you're absolutely right. You can't sit or be lackadaisical in Cali and think you're gonna get to the bag.
Yeah,
That's just not how it is. So
exactly.
you peeped that early and was able to implement that. That's dope. I was looking at your IG, man, and it seems like you love to travel and you're a foodie.
Yeah,
Man,
traveling is my favorite thing in the world, sir.
so what are some cool places that you've been to and what are some cool places that you plan on going to in the future?
Just traveling wise.
Yeah.
I for sure my biggest goal is to travel to Monaco just to experience that wealth. I really want to see that subconsciously. And honestly, I know it's small, but North Carolina, just living there, like seeing, it's a beautiful place. I think it's like one of the most underrated states for sure. But this year, I traveled a lot throughout the states. I went like all the way up to West Virginia, all the way down to Mississippi, and just seeing that is like really. I'll never forget being in West Virginia, just like shocked, looking out the window the whole bus ride. Like I've never seen a place that looked like this in my life. Just getting those experiences, seeing there's so much more out there, and I'm trying to go see the whole world. Honestly, that's the plan.
No, you're absolutely right. People take for granted the opportunities that sports provides in regards to traveling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're either on a bus or you're in a plane. And I get it. Usually when we're traveling, we're focusing on the game that we're about to play, but like you find yourself in some interesting
Yeah.
places, man. Like,
Yeah.
man, what the heck am I doing here? You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I love it
Meeting new
though.
people.
Yeah.
Seriously,
It's the best feeling ever. Just seeing new people, new cultures, new places. Like I love it.
man. And tell me about some of these food places that you love to, man. What are some spots that me and Bill need to check out?
especially in North Carolina.
In North Carolina, shoot, there's this place called Bojangles. No, not Bojangles. What I'm thinking. What's that place? That barbecue spot right outside of High Point that everybody goes to. You know what I'm talking about.
Sweet old Bills?
Sweet
Sweet
old
old
Bills.
Bill.
Sweet old
Yeah.
Bills.
Yeah.
100%. Sweet old Bills is fire, man. Out here, like my NIL is reaching out to so many brands. It got me into the food review lane, which was very random, but it's cool, man. 'Cause I be eating good. Chubby's Chicken in Fontana was probably one of my favorites. That place was crazy. Yeah, so it's a whole nother avenue, a whole nother community, but it's fun, man. Just experiencing to like these random things. Yeah.
Man, I love that. Like, and speaking of like that in your brand, because I know it's all intertwined with your brand, the traveling, the food, but if you could kind of give us a quick rundown of your actual overall brand, that you're representing right now.
My personal brand,
Your
for
your
say.
personal brand. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
My personal brand for sure is to show athletes that you can live a good, outgoing life while playing the sport. I feel like a lot of people they try to assume, playing your sport was such a hard time, such a devastating. Which I'm not saying it's not hard, but there's still avenues to live life, to do things outside of your sport while you're playing. Like you don't have to stop living life because you're playing your sport. But that's for sure what my whole personal brand is all about.
Sweet.
On that same accord, Denzel, you were mentioning earlier off camera, how you connect with other athletes and coaches. But I'm gonna kind of compartmentalize and zero in a bit. What's the narrative that you give to athletes? Like, what is one thing that you want them to take away once you leave a room after they hear you talk?
I want them to understand that nobody is going to save them. Everything is going to be action oriented. There's never going to be a time where you're ready to shift into that identity that you want. And I kind of want to stay on one thing, but that's just all. Just them understanding principles and habits because they're so important. They're the foundation of your life. If you really want to change, you have to do it now. You can't rely on anybody else because it's easy to get caught up in that loop thinking, oh, my coach is going to go reach out to coaches for me, get recruited. oh, I'm just gonna magically get good at basketball. I'm just gonna magically get towards my goals. It doesn't work like that. So I really want them to understand that and look backwards. Being able to look backward, not always looking forward, but look within, understand why. Why am I feeling this way? Why are certain things happening? Why is this outcome happening and how can I change it? That's usually step one when I talk to my athletes, I want them to see.
That's dope. And how did you get into that mindset? Was it something that you just grew gradually, or you always been thinking like this?
Honestly, just reading. I'm a bookworm, honestly. I feel like Robert Greene, he really helped me learn how to, look at sides of yourself that you don't really want to look at or don't see on a regular. And he's probably one of my favorite authors. So from there, and just a lot of shadow work too, asking yourself the hard questions, asking yourself questions that you never thought you needed to answer. That's a big thing for me as well too.
You're a Robert Greens guy, huh?
I do like Robert Greene.
All right. Might ask you which one is your favorite, but because no, we read his books as well. Is 48 Laws your favorite, or is it one of his others?
It's mastery.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah, that's the one I recently just finished as well too. So I feel like it
Yeah.
really correlates to the time I'm in my life right now. They say it's one of the best for like men in their early 20s and stuff, and I see exactly why. And it kind of
Yeah.
relates to what you were saying earlier, or what Bill was saying earlier about fun, fun in the sport and all that, and
Mhm.
finding or that transition after sports, having that same passion for sports for something else. That's I was thinking of mastery exactly when he said that.
Yeah. Hey, bro, don't sleep on the art of seduction, though. It's
Hey,
some
I
gems
I
in that
haven't
one.
finished that one, but I believe it's up there.
It's some gems in that one, man. I love avid readers, man. A wise man once told both me and Bill, there's two ways that you can expand your view. One is traveling, and the other one is reading. Bill, you know who told us that, right? And the fact that you get the opportunity to do both is showing the wealth that you possess, because true wealth is the wealth that you have in between these two ears. So
100%.
I want to stay on books a little bit because you are talking to two men that are avid readers, and we're late to the party. We didn't start taking reading serious until like we were what in our mid 20s, almost early 30s. But these were things that kind of unlocked a lot of keys for us. So like you mentioned, Robert Greene is one of ours. Are you a Napoleon Hill fan?
I haven't tapped into Napoleon Hill yet.
So
Actually, a little bit psychology and money, and is it Think and Grow Rich or is that somebody else?
no, you're right. It's Think and Grow Rich.
Okay, yeah,
The book that is Bill and I's favorite. Not saying Think and Grow Rich is not a good book, but you got to read Outwitting the Devil, bro. That's a game
yeah.
changer.
I heard of this one. I heard of this one. I'm probably gonna buy that right after this call.
Yeah. Another one I think you'll like is Stephen Covey, Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
I heard of this one.
Yeah. And
100%.
his thinking, bro, is going to remind you a lot of Dr. Cobain. They kind of think the same way.
Mm.
It's a lot of similarities in that. That's another one. Bill, what you got? I know you got some. He reminds me of him in his writing, the way he writes. He got good books too, though.
Yeah,
Mentioning Cobain, yeah.
yeah, that's funny.
It definitely does. Book wise, I Win the Devil was probably one of my favorite books I've ever picked up. Like it
Okay,
completely changed my life in terms of how I thought. It was a fundamental paradigm shift closing that book to where I've read it multiple times. The next one is 48 Laws of Power, about the author you was talking about. I think The Art of Seduction is also an equally good one. I haven't finished the mastery. I started an audiobook. I gotta pick back up on that one. But for me personally, the 48 Laws of Power just
yeah,
it never gets old. And it's like for me personally, I go through seasons of my life where there are chapters of that book that are applicable to the things that I'm trying to tackle or the things that I'm trying to accomplish in that moment. And so that book to me is the book that is the gift that just keeps giving. Every time I open up that chapter, I take away something different. But those are good ones. I'd probably say the last one, man, is J-Bo the book and the one our mentor had us read. Why am I drawing a blank on the author and the title?
What was it about?
Beauty to Rescue, Better to Fight as a Man. It
Oh
was
wow.
Wild at Heart. That's what it was
Yep.
called.
okay.
Wild at Heart. Another phenomenal book as a man, just kind of compartmentalizing, putting everything in the perspective of like, it has biblical references, man, but a man gotta have something that gets him out of bed and excited every single morning. If you don't, you will perish. And like that, I take that to my grave any day of the week. And that book kind of really hones in exactly on that, amongst other things. But I think the biggest takeaway of that is always find a passion that you can go attack. Because if not, again, you go back into this little drifting kind of cycle, and that's just something that I just don't want to do in my own personal life.
Yeah, I love that.
Man, that's dope. And you're off to a good start because you're already reading these books, like I said, decade before Bill and I picked those up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And based on just right now in your experience, I would love to kind of, whether you have one yet, but like, what is your worldview? Like, what is your philosophy on life right now, if you were to sum that up?
Leave a positive impact on every person that I meet. That's for sure what I live by when I think of that question. 100%. From what I learned is a man is remembered by the impact that he left, not the, externals, not the fancy cars and everything, but the impact. So that's something I've always remembered and lived upon.
Dope. That's dope, man. I love that. I love that, man. I can just ask you a bunch of questions
Sure.
for days, but I know I'm trying to respect your time. You're a busy guy. Man, is there any questions you may have for us? Anything you want to know about us, man?
Honestly, that would probably be a whole nother podcast. Like, I really do want to pick your guys' mindset, knowing that you read these books, knowing that you're black men successful in the fields that you're working in. And just knowing, like, just hearing you guys talk, like, I just know I could learn a lot of wisdom from you guys. Talking about, I don't want to be too philosophical, and like that's something I would say. Just all that
Nah,
stuff.
listen, bro. This is a platform, and this is the reason why Bill, myself, and our other guest, Kat, we couldn't make it. We kind of started this. We realized that there were platforms where people would talk, but it seemed like once it was time to go deep, that's when people go left. And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
that's what the world is missing. Everybody's so
yeah,
surface, but then people are left to their own devices looking for answers. And I'm like, yo, if I can have that conversation, I get it. It ain't for everybody. But for the ones that it's for, I would love to have those conversations. You know what I'm saying? You take what you, it's like what Bruce Lee says, like water, man. You take what you can use, you leave what you don't need. So man, we go down rabbit holes. This is what made, Bill and I's relationship so strong. So man, we can go there. And that's something I want to do with the youth is really pick your brain and be like, man, what's the things that keep y'all up at night? You feel me? What
yeah.
are the things that excites you? What are the things that are terrifying you? I wish somebody would have asked me this when I was 21. Because us
Yeah,
athletes, bro, we walk around with so much bravado. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Can't
exactly.
nothing harm us. We can bounce back from whatever we fall from. Like, bro, that's far from the truth. We be needing so much help and support. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like,
Yeah,
who do
very
we go
true.
to? Who do we go to and be like, yo, I'm scared today?
Exactly. I agree with that
You feel
100%.
me?
Yeah, I do.
Like, I can only imagine, like, back in the day saying that to somebody and somebody looking at me like, what? If you don't get yourself out? Like, but I'm like, I
Yeah,
really needed somebody to be like, nah, bro, tell me more. What's going on?
Hmm.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
And so I think it need to be people like you because you're so mature at a young age.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying you got it all together, but it's more for you to learn, but you're heading in the right direction. And there's so many other young minds that can gravitate to you in the direction you're going to kind of help lead the way. Like, this is something I'm about to say. It is what it is, whether it become controversial or not. I believe that all athletes as a collective, we're our own community. I believe that we're the biggest and the strongest fraternity on this planet, but we don't recognize or acknowledge that.
Mhm.
We're strong when we're on a team, we're strong when we're on campus, but something about when we retire or when we graduate is when we go to our own corners and we don't stick together anymore. And we looking up like, damn, I was a warrior at one point in time. I could conquer all. I had my team, I had my fellas, and then they can't do it no more. And that's why we
Mhm.
have all this anxiety, all this depression. It's like, nah, bro, glue this shit in now. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and work together, keep together, and find ways, like you said, to continue to add value to your community. That's what you said in the beginning of our conversation. You want to be an asset to your community. So there's only one way to do that. We kind of got to roll as a collective. I'm gonna shut up now,
Mhm.
but that's something I feel real strong about. You feel me?
So I love
Yeah.
that, man. One conversation at a time. I would love to just pick your guys' brain and yeah, go from there. 100%.
Well, shoot, man, I got one last one. Then I would love to hear one question from you, Denzel, even if it is philosophical. But my question to you, man, is what's next, right? Like it sounds like you're at the latter part, right, of your college journey. So what's next? What do you have your eyes on pivoting from the sport, if at all? Are you going to stay in the industry? Kind of sounds like you're trying to do some entrepreneurial things, do your own thing, which I think is great. But what is next for you?
And life after, like after college, what you're saying? I got a couple of answers. I for sure see myself traveling the world, hosting like, team bonding, conversations like this all throughout the world with my brand mind, right? That's the main thing, honestly. I see myself traveling and learning 100%, working from anywhere. That's why I want to do this entrepreneur stuff. 1,000%. That's when I hear that question, that's all I think of is traveling.
I can see that traveling the world, bringing people together.
Sure. Just teaching,
I hate
just
to use the
teaching.
word evangelist, but that's kind of what it is, though. in some capacity.
Could you explain that word to me? Evangelist.
Evangelist. So it's more of a religious term.
Okay.
Evangelists used to go around spreading the gospel. And they would
Yeah.
travel doing it, almost like missionaries. But
Yeah.
but you want to, go around and spread your positivity,
Yeah.
from an
Just
athlete's
providing,
perspective.
I see myself just teaching, providing. I feel like I'm here on this earth to give, to just provide something. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but I can just feel it in my soul. Like I know a lot of people are gonna listen to me for some reason, and I'm still figuring that out.
Okay. I don't want to let you off the hook this easy because I know we're going to have more conversations, but the question that you're about to ask me and Billy is not necessarily for you. It's for the person that's going to pick this up maybe randomly, and it's going to be the answer that they need. So I'll even give you some time, but I would really like for you to ask us at least one or two questions to pick your brain because I know it's in, yeah, you can take your time.
I'm curious, what was one of the most pivotal points in your life, and what mindset did you get to when you felt you were rock bottom, specifically in college, playing sports, when you were rock bottom, just almost probably about to give up, or just you feel like it was all going wrong? What what was your why to change your perspective, and how did you stay consistent with it?
You gonna go? Or you want me to go? Go
That's a
ahead.
good one. It's a great question, Denzel. So I would say my rock bottom was post college. Like my college career was bumpy, but I think most athletes have a bumpy kind of experience, right? In the sense of you go to a place, you figure out how to find your way within that organization, within that team. You start playing. For myself, I was fortunate to play relatively early, start, get benched, work my way back up, start again. You kind of go through the cycle and try to. I think the biggest thing that most athletes struggle with once they get to that level is consistency, particularly at practice, right? Like everybody gets excited for games. That's easy. But how do you do that on a day in, day out, consistent basis? But my rock bottom actually came after college and getting a nice slice of humble pie when the NFL doesn't come knocking on your door. And now you're trying to figure things out. And it's like, okay, for me personally, I kind of took a lay of the land of like where else can I play this sport and try to make in my definition at the time, pretty decent income. And all things be considered, when Jabari and I were playing, it was NFL, it was CFL, and it was arena ball. And so I segued from the league didn't work out to CFL and arena ball, and it couldn't be further from the game in which football is presented here in the United States in terms of the NFL. CFL is 12 players on the field. The receivers can go in motions. It's a soccer field dimension. So everything that you learn about the game, you've got to kind of unlearn and relearn a different way of working. Same to be said in arena ball. You go from a football field to a basketball court, less players on the field. It's one guy running motion full speed, and that's typically the position that Jabari and I played. And so again, you got to unlearn a lot of things and learn something new. All has its place in the world. But that part was a rock bottom for me, primarily because, you got buddies that go to the league, they get drafted, and you come back home and everybody think you're a hero. Everybody think that you own for the most part because you was at, for us, a power four, power five, playing on TV, playing in bowl games, and they see you in the neighborhood. It's like, man, what you doing here? And that was for a long time. I hated to be seen outside because I wasn't in the league, and it was a hard conversation for me to have with folks that would be like, well, what are you doing now? Are you still trying to do this? You still trying to pursue all these things? And so the pivot was then of trying to figure out, at least, and again, man, this is just my own kind of paradigm on this one, Denzel, was I've always been, I think, a bit cerebral in the sense of I kind of think through a lot of things. And so I paid attention at K State. I had a few coaches that were passionate about giving us knowledge. And when you're young, some of that knowledge goes in one ear and out the other. But in some of those means I actually paid attention. But specifically, the percentages of folks that make it to the league is still 1%. And just for easy math, let's say the league has 500 jobs every year. Half of that are young men that are being drafted. The other half of that are free agents or veterans that contracts ended or they were cut and they're trying to find a new home. And so if you don't go into the league after that first year of leaving college, that window of opportunity goes from a door to a crack in that door. And it's so much harder to break into that. And I knew that leaving college. And me personally, bro, I didn't want to wake up 26, 27. And no knock on the young men that want to continue to pursue football into their late 20s, early 30s. I have buddies, friends, mentors that did, and they sleep well at night. I just personally didn't want to do that. And so I was like, by the time I got cut from the CFL from the BC Lions, I started to think maybe it's time to hang up my cleats and actually go into the working world and identify a different path to reach the same goal of making a six-figure income on a consistent basis. And so I just started to really focus my attention and energy all on that. And, it took some networking, it took some meeting people, share a little bit about my own journey, man. After getting cut, worked at the Apple store and retail for a little while, ran into a few folks that introduced me to some different industries. Left there, went into financial advising. I pulled Jabari with me. And it was our first exposure to asset classes and investments as we solicited risk management products and, 401k rollovers, mutual funds, index funds, and trying to grow money. The problem with that industry is that most this model is set up to where you make money off of what you kill, right? If you get someone to sign a paper and you transfer funds over and now you're managing an account or you sell them a risk management product, you receive a commission that has a specific percentage of that. But at the same time, that percentage is now your base salary. So if you're not consistently going out and landing deals, you're not making the income.
Yeah.
Not saying it's right or wrong, but that's the business model for the most part. There are some models that will give modest base salaries, but for the most part, for you to really, really make it, you need to work your butt off to get millions of dollars in what they call assets under management and or AUM. And now you're in a really comfortable place. And so I had focused my sights, man, on trying to get into a different career. And so, like I said, I went, did that for a little while and then segued into recruiting, which is still inside sales. But instead of picking up the phone and trying to call a network of individuals, at least my network that didn't have money to invest, I'm now soliciting jobs. I have a career for you. I've got an opportunity that will make you X amount of dollars. And that conversation is just a lot easier to have. And so I've kind of really put my foot into that industry as a whole. And looking up 10 years later, I've been able to work at three of the most recognizable brands in the entire world. Like one of them, I work for, used to call Facebook now Meta, but Meta has 3 apps that has more global population than any app combined, right? In terms of Instagram, Facebook, as well as WhatsApp, like the 3 most commonly used apps. I think 3 out of the top 5, maybe even 10 most commonly used apps in the entire world. And so that was a long-winded answer, man, of a TLDR of that is, I think you just gotta focus on what's important to you. For me, it was always monetary based in terms of getting to a place that you're comfortable, right? And like, how do I build these blocks? And then from there, it helps having kids. I had kids in my mid 20s. And so that was also the why aspect of that of how can I create a life that makes my offsprings better and then set up the foundation
Yeah.
to even pass that along to them. I just became hyper focused on that and put my head down for a decade plus, man, and came out, poked my head out. And so now, again, making decent money, been in the industry for a while, been at some recognizable brands, moved into a leadership role, and now I can sacrifice my time to give back to the young kids and say, this thing that we call football or basketball, or whatever that is, you can use as a platform to catapult your life. But in the interim, run that race until you can't run it any longer. But when you're done with that race, also don't be oblivious to other opportunities that surround you and find interest outside that sport because it's not a matter of if, it's when. For some folks, that when comes a lot later in their life. Others, it comes immediately after college, like it did for myself. And I think the more folks can invest in what they're interested in outside of sports, when that actually happens, it'll be a much easier transition because there's already kind of a path or interest and they have an idea of what they want to go attack. And from there, it's just a matter of leaning on those habits that you talked about earlier of, I put my head down and I just work. I work, I work, I work, and I'll come up for air once I start to have marginal success, but never get comfortable.
I love that.
No, that's interesting. My experience was relatively similar to Bill's, because my rock bottom was a process, and it was a process that I ignored early. I'll give you a perfect example. I don't know if Bill mentioned, but we were junior college transfers, right? So we've been the men all throughout high school and JUCO to get the opportunity to go to these major schools, right? And just like Bill, I started junior year. But I think the first thing of when it started spiraling down is, man, imagine finding out that you're about to back up a freshman through the damn media guide that comes out
Yeah.
that fall, that spring, right? But you're still oblivious to it because you're like, yeah, I'm gonna compete. It's all good. It's just writing, right? But that's the first knock to your ego, right? Then your senior year and you're not the man. I'm still playing, but I'm not the starter. And if you know anything about sports, bro, film is capital if you want to go to the next level. And the reason why I didn't play on Sundays, and the scouts told me, like, bro, you're a hell of an athlete. I was always gifted genetically, but it's like, bro, I can't go to bat for you. I need film, right? And so I'm still in denial. So similar to Bill, you're like, well, it's not over yet. So I played in the Arena League. And I one of the wisest decisions that I gave myself was I was like, all right, I'm gonna treat this just like a college term. Meaning like I'll give it 4 seasons, man. If it don't work, man, I'll pack it up and go home, right?
Mhm.
And I think my rock bottom was that fourth year. Although I had a pretty successful arena career, but it ain't nothing that make you rich because you still got to go and work, you know what I mean, and figure it out. But I'll never forget, man. I'm driving home from St. Louis to Los Angeles, man, and for some reason, bro, I didn't listen to the music. I just was in my thoughts. My radio wasn't broke. I just didn't turn it on, and
Yeah.
I was just so deep in my thoughts, man. And I remember pulling up. I remember the shit vividly, bro. Like I remember pulling up to my driveway at the home that I grew up, going to the exact same bedroom, looking in the same mirror that when I left beforehand to go to school, that I said I'm never coming back here on these terms.
Hmm.
In the way that you feel as like you're a fucking failure.
Hmm.
Clearly you're not, but at that time, that's how you feel because you like mission is not accomplished. And then that's when you start playing that mental ping pong of like, man, who am I? What am I going to do? Because at that time I had, the athletic identity as far as in my success was only tied into what I was able to do on the field of sports. And so now you got to go through your 5 stages of grief, right? You got to go through your denial. You got to go through your anger. You got to go through your bargaining. You got to go through your reasoning, right? To finally come. And those stages took damn near a decade because at the time I didn't have the tools, right? So you're trying out things, right? Now you're trying to self-identify like who am I? What are my skills? What are my talents? What are my passions? What is going to
Yeah.
make me just excited of running down the hall? I mean, not running down the hall, but running through the tunnel on the field that I can from a day to day. And I realized you'll never get that feeling again. It is what it is. I'm sorry. It's just different. Now you can have some jobs or careers that are fulfilling that you're proud about that you can say, hey, I work here or I do this. You never get that feeling again. It is what it is. And that took me a while to process it and accept it. Right.
Hmm.
And then when I finally do that, the clock is ticking because now you're a man. You know what I mean? And now you got to start, having some responsibilities. And now you're navigating and remember what's going on in your back of your mind. Your confidence was high when you were an athlete, when you were playing. You like, you know how we were, bro. We used to talk in third person. Jabari's not going to this party this week. You know what I mean? Like that's the type of bravado we had, right? But now you're humble and you're walking into these business meetings, you're having these new jobs, and it's intimidating. Like I'll never forget first week at Northwestern Mutual, and I'm around all these dudes with suits. They're well spoken, so articulate. They're sharp. They got these business degrees, and they just run in circles. All I had was hustle and a little bit of charisma. Man, you don't understand how that feels when for the most of your life, you can kind of show your dominance through physicality. You know what I mean? And now it's like this is all cerebral now. Like that took a
Yeah.
minute to process. I think, so that was kind of my process in rock bottom, if I'm answering your question. And it's a long process. And to be honest with you, that's what kind of sparked my why. I decided to go back to school while I was trying to discover myself and re-educate myself because I don't know about you, but my undergrad you might as well call it basket weaving. It's human development, family studies. That's the degree you pick so you can graduate on time and stay eligible. Let's keep it a buck,
Hmm.
right? So I was like, well, let me go back to school and really educate myself, right? And so it was during that time is when I started doing research athletes and myself and like how did we get in this situation, what's the history of it, and from there birthed my why. Like all right, I discovered I'm not the only one that's going through this and I won't be the only one, so now
Yeah.
let me be a solution of the problem. And so that's how all of this that you see, the books, the podcasts, and all the things that I got, this is my true life's calling. I may always have a job or a career, that's cool, you got to keep the bills paid, but what keeps me up at night or what gets me up in the morning is these opportunities that I get to share because I know how for years this shit was so quiet and it was never spoken of.
Yeah.
I know that was long winded too, but you asked.
Yeah. I learned from Bozo. Yeah, that's real. That's real.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's it. But bro, listen, man, utilize this, man. I'm so glad we got the opportunity to speak with you, man. I know your future is going to be extremely bright. Bro, you still got 2 more years of basketball, man. That's so dope. One piece of advice that I want to give you, man, and I know you probably already know this, bro, just really, really experience this moment, man. I know a lot of times we can be so future focused and so
Yeah,
lasered. That's how we're wired. Bro, you're playing something that you love, not only for free, but you're damn near getting paid to do it, bro. The rest of the world ain't gonna be like that. And I'm not trying to be a doomsday, but bro, enjoy this shit. Max this shit out. The same way that they milking you for your time, your sweat equity, maximize. And what I mean by max, like use your resources, bro. Use
yeah,
everything at the school, use everything in your community. This is when you start extracting. Because when it's all said and done, bro, that's when you're gonna need to cash in those chips on them relationships. You feel
yeah.
me? You're gonna
Very
need
true.
that.
Mhm. Very true. I'll
You
take
got
that in
some
consideration.
absolutely. Jim, Bill, you got some gems from before we roll?
No, man, I was gonna say the same thing, man. Just be where your feet are, bro. Be present, enjoy it. Like, don't overlook it, because we talk about our glory days all the time. And granted, man, I'm not shy about it. I'm sure you can tell my age because my melanin is on the screen. But in my mid 30s, it was a great time to be in college. It was a great chapter in a book of my life, man. But that's my biggest advice to all athletes: be present. Don't take it for granted. Don't take practice for granted. Don't take those meetings for granted. Just be where you are. Be where your feet are, man. And then when it's all said and done, you figure out a different path. Because it's very easy to overlook it and be like thinking it's gonna be forever, and it does not. It doesn't last long. Again, it's a matter of when, not if.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, once again, Denzel, man, thank you for your time, man. That was a full solid hour, man. I appreciate you. Before we let you go, tell everybody where they can find you, how they support you. Go ahead and give us the pitch, man. Go ahead.
Denzel X Hines on Instagram, Mind Right Services as well. Instagram, TikTok, check those both out. But I'm very grateful for the conversation, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Sweet, sweet, man. All right, Coach Bill, you got any last marks before I let it go?
No, man, it was a pleasure to talk with you, Denzel. You're an
Likewise.
impressive young
Appreciate it.
man, bro.
Thank you.
There it is, man. All right, well, that's a wrap. Another episode, man. Come check us out. Man, it was great. In the
Yeah.
meantime, man, y'all know the deal, bro. Stay positive, stay productive, but most importantly, stay in the present. I'm out, y'all.